Happy Pride Month, everybody. Hope everybody has been doing well. So, we all know that Percy Jackson has always been a series designed for people who need to be seen, or need to feel seen. And we had a whole video talking about why this is the backbone of what makes the series work. Camp Half-Blood is a place where children from across the country can go and feel seen, whether it's because of their difficult step-parents, their troubles in school, issues with parental alienation, or any number of issues, and we as the audience pick up on this. The series is a father's love letter, and in recent years, his cast has expanded to include various members of the LGBT community. And so, for Pride Month, we wanted to take a minute and call out some of these characters from across the Ardenverse. We're also going to be playing a slightly different version of our quote game for this one. Instead of leaving a quote down in the comments and then guessing someone else's, let's leave a feat performed by your favorite character, and then go to someone else's comment and give your best guess as to who performed said feat in which book. And while you do that, let's dive in. Just a disclaimer, we're not going to be going into the gods because even though we know that Apollo has dated both men and women, the gods' dating lives get particularly convoluted. So we're going to be sticking with the mortal and demigod characters that we see in the series. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. Probably the most well-known is Nico, who was unwillingly outed during the House of Hades and is currently in a relationship with Will Solace. And Nico holds a special place because he's arguably paved the way for a lot of the other characters to be represented going forward. During his confrontation with Cupid, we learned that he has a crush on Percy, and Jason was the first to find out, which radically recontextualizes the events of not just the Heroes of Olympus, but goes all the way back to the original series as well. It's unclear whether or not the intention of writing Nico was to make him gay, or if that came later, but he paved the way, and now he's headlining his own series with The Son of the Star, and now The Court of the Dead, which is slated to come out here in September. That naturally leads us to Will, who we didn't see much of before the Blood of Olympus, but we know that he worked as a combat medic during the Battle of Manhattan, and he even helped save Annabeth from the poison dagger wound that she suffered at the hands of Ethan Nakamura. The two bonded after the return of the Seven, when the infirmary was overrun with wounded of Greeks and Romans alike, and Will led the medical side of the reconstruction effort. Many of the monsters that Octavian had recruited turned on the Greeks and Romans. Nico found himself pitching in, and this is where Will and Nico got to see each other eventually, and we know that they started dating. We're presumably going to see Will again in the Court of the Dead, so we'll see where their relationship currently stands. But as of now, he ventured into Tartarus with Nico, so it doesn't seem like he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. We also know that after she broke up with Jason, we learned that Piper was bi, and she's currently dating a girl named Shell. Though we don't know much about Shell since she appears to be completely mortal, and thus uninvolved with the mythological side of Piper's life. We first meet Shell in the Tower of Nero, but she and Piper are still together by the time The Son of the Star takes place. So whether or not we'll get to see more of her going forward is up in the air, but given the fact that, again, she's mortal, we're not getting our hopes up too high. We also know that the Dark Prophecy introduced us to the Way Station, which acts as a refuge for demigods and hunters if they ever find themselves in Indiana and in need of a place to stay. It was originally built by former hunters Josephine and Hemithea, who decided to abandon the ways of the hunt in order to resume their mortal lives together. And we learned that if hunters take up a romantic relationship, they forfeit their immortality and continue aging as normal. While they appear to be in their 60s, that's just how far they've progressed since their aging resumed, and are actually far older than this. They're currently living out their lives as caretakers and shepherds of lost and wounded demigods who need a place to stay during their travels. Hemithea, in particular, was a princess of Naxos back in its heyday, and it was Apollo who initially turned her immortal. And not only have they adopted a daughter named Georgina, but they unofficially adopt anyone who needs a place to rest. We also know that Leo opted to remain here to help out rather than returning to Camp Half-Blood. So if we ever see another project following Leo, then he's likely to find his way back here in some capacity. And the Way Station is almost certainly going to play a pivotal role somewhere down the line. If we pivot our attention over to the Magnus Chase series, we meet Alex Fierro, the daughter of Loki, who is revealed to be gender fluid. We're going to be referring to Alex as she simply because she goes by she much more often than she goes by he, and is expressed in a version as going by they. While Sam is much more closed off from acknowledging her heritage as the daughter of Loki, Alex embraces it, even though she still hates her father. She uses the power of Loki to define herself and teaches Sam to do the same. And she's generally regarded as one of the strongest characters in the Magnus Chase series, so if the Norse corner of the world continues, we'll be excited to see more of her. Right now we know that the Magnus Chase trilogy was only designed to be a trilogy, so we don't believe that there will be any more Magnus Chase books. But there are a few plot threads that were left up in the air that might bring back their characters into the fray sooner rather than later. Now, as it currently stands, there aren't any prominent trans characters that we could find, but there is a precedent in Greek mythology that we wanted to take a minute to talk about in the hopes that it might find it somewhere in the future. Now, as it stands, there aren't any prominent trans characters that we could find, but there is a precedent in Greek mythology that we wanted to take a minute to talk about in the hopes that somewhere in the future, we'll see a prominent trans character take the spotlight. I'm going to add a trigger warning for mention of sexual assault. In Ovid's Metamorphosis, we see a character named Canis, the princess of Thessaly, who is assaulted by Poseidon, and as a result, Poseidon offers one wish, and Canis says that he would like to start living in the body of a man. Poseidon grants this wish, and Canis becomes a fierce warrior who fought alongside the armies of Thessaly for years until he was confronted by a group of centaurs. It's important to remember that in the original Greek myths, centaurs are not all as refined and disciplined as Chiron, and they have a reputation as being barbarous savages who have no respect for anyone but themselves. We see this slightly translated into the party ponies for Percy Jackson. They taunt Canis for his origins as a woman, and after fighting off several of them, they are eventually able to kill him. But this event is not depicted as noble or righteous. Ovid leans into the fact that this is a barbaric killing and is no way glorified. But it does set the precedent for trans characters being part of Greek mythology, and we all know that this series is not slowing down anytime soon. The Recommendation Letters trilogy is not done yet, and neither are Nico's solo adventures, so even though we don't know exactly what's next, we do know that this series will likely continue on for quite some time. But that's our current roster of LGBT characters that we could find in the series, but be sure to let us know if there are any that we missed. As always, we love this series, we love talking about the series, and we would love to have you join in the conversation down below. So take care, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.